The US truck market is at an all-time low in its history, and in today's video we are going to break down just how bad is it and why. We are also going to take some time to look at some exclusive wholesale data of Ram, Ford, and Chevy pickup trucks to kind of highlight the current state of the US truck marketplace. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the vlog. Hope everyone is having a fantastic day. We got a lot of topics and a lot of data to cover. I got a lot of positive feedback about doing a similar video with the C8 Corvette prices, and so I thought I'd take some time to talk about trucks, which is something else that is near and dear to my heart, and talk about the current tragic decline of the US truck sales marketplace. If you find this video helpful, definitely take a quick second to hit the subscribe button, leave a comment down below on what your thoughts are on the contents of this video, and if you found this video helpful, definitely smash that thumbs up button. But without wasting any more time, let's dive right into the heart of today's video. It's no surprise to anyone right now that the car market is in a historic decline. The sales have kind of dried up, the demand has dried up, inventory is starting to pile on, and as a result, the kind of iron horse of the US car sales market, the American luxury pickup truck, is taking the biggest beating of all. And in today's video, I thought it'd be cool to take a moment to talk about some of the reasons why this is happening, look at some of the data, and then what you should do if you're in the marketplace for a pickup truck right now. Let's start this video by talking about the pricing of trucks and the disparity in terms of how wages have grown as opposed to how truck prices have grown. Luxury trucks are really killing the segment right now. I think they're outpacing the depreciation of not just regular pickup trucks, but also vehicles in general. Over the last couple of years, dealers have really been pushing luxury pickup trucks to consumers. There's a much more padded profit margin. It's an easier to sell product, it's more versatile, and it's all fun and dandy until the money disappears, which is the current state of the US marketplace. A decade ago, the average income was roughly $50,000 per household, and the average car price was around $30,000. Fast forward to about 2023, the average household income is in the low 70s, but the average car price is now $50,000, and a pickup truck is even more than that. As you can see from this graphic, over the last maybe 6 or 7 years, the average household income has gone up about $20,000. From say 2015, it was around $55,000 to 2023, it is now $72,000, which is just shy of the $20,000 mark. That's about a percent increase in the average household income, whereas if you look at this graphic, the average new vehicle transaction price from say 2015 to 2023 has gone up from roughly $30,000 to $33,000 to almost $50,000, which is on near 50% increase in the transaction price of new vehicles. And they're not drastically different numbers. You're talking like 1.4x to like 1.7x, but that is a notable difference when you pile on the fact that inflation, as you can see from this graphic, has steadily increased as well. So when you're talking a 20 or 30% disparity in terms of wages and inflation, that's a big difference to add up over the course of everything that you do. Nothing's gotten cheaper, everything's gotten more expensive, and now you're making less money, which makes it more difficult to buy these vehicles as money starts to disappear. And as you saw from the graphic earlier, the average household income is now on the decline, whereas car prices have still kind of held flat and are now turning the corner to match that decline in household income, cutting off demand. And I know I just throw a lot of words. What it comes down to ultimately is that money is disappearing and demand is drying up. And so transitioning to the next point of decline causer for the US truck market, as money disappears, naturally people have to go find it, and the cost to borrow money has now increased 3x over the last year or so, where the rates were about 2.25 when I bought the Ram TRX and the C8R. Those borrowing costs are now at 7%, so the cost to borrow makes it harder to justify a new vehicle, further choking off demand as supply is starting to pile up on dealer lots. And so I thought it would be really cool to take a look at Ford, Ram, and Chevrolet in terms of their luxury lineup and their work truck lineup to see what the decline rate is in terms of value on the wholesale dealer auction market. As I've stated in the past, retail is really hard to get a hold of and try to gauge and grasp, but wholesale is a better metric in terms of what vehicle prices are moving at, and so I thought this would be helpful data to put out there and share on the channel with everybody. Taking a look at Ford, the Ford F-150 Limited, the top of their lineup compared to the Ford XLT, which is not the base truck. I'm trying to do like more of a crew cab work truck comparison, so we're looking at kind of apples to apples. And as you can see here, the Limited last year was a $75,000 wholesale truck, and now that same 2022 F-150 Limited is a $56,000 wholesale truck, which is almost a $20,000 decline over the span of 1 year. This equates to roughly a 25% depreciation drop in a matter of 1 year. And if you compare that against a base work truck, you'll see that an XLT last year was wholesaling for around $50,000, and it's still pulling in $41,000 after about a year's time and usage, which equates to an 18% loss in value. And both of these numbers are outpacing the average car, say your Toyota Corolla or your Honda Accord or your unusual passenger vehicle. Moving on to Ram, you're seeing a Ram 1500 Limited last year at $57,000, whereas over the last 30 days, the wholesale has been about $47,000, which is roughly an 18% decline in value. But equally, a more work-oriented truck like the Bighorn is $39,000 as opposed to $32,000 over the last 30 days, which is a 16% drop. So a little tighter margin Ford. But I think this is largely due to the fact that Ram has a much better allocation process, in which even last year you could have gotten vehicles at steep discounts from wholesale dealerships, which we're seeing now marginalize some of the loss, but again, a 2% disparity between the two and still a pretty substantial drop off in terms of value loss. And lastly, taking a look at Chevrolet, you're taking a look at a 2022 Crew Cab High Country as opposed to a 2022 Silverado Crew Cab LT, and surprisingly, both of these vehicles have depreciated an equal percentage, 17% or so in terms of drop-off. You guys can see the numbers on the screen here. I think some of this has to do with the fact that General Motors is the only manufacturer right now that is throttling production of their trucks to try to keep the supply shortage desperately rolling, to keep kind of inventory moving and not pile up cars on lots. But even shutting down the plant for a couple of weeks at a time is not allowing demand and supply to kind of keep that ratio, and supply is still stacking up on dealer lots, which is why you're seeing a decline in prices but not necessarily a disparity between trim levels. And so what does this mean for the average household consumer? Well, you're going to see dealerships start bringing back massive discounts to try to move inventory. The average day to supply has gone up almost 3 to 4 times. You're talking a truck is average sitting almost 90 to 100 days on the dealer lot. And so manufacturers and dealers are now desperate to try to move inventory, not just to keep up with sales, but also because of the model year cutover. So as you can see here, Ram is now offering anywhere from 10 to 15% below MSRP. And mind you, these are manufacturer discounts, which means that this isn't even eating into the dealer's profit margin, where they could take off another $5,000-$6,000 between MSRP and invoice to desperately try to move these vehicles. Heck, Ram is offering 90 days of no payment, so they're giving you a new truck for 3 months at steep discounts, and they're still not moving. Chevrolet sales aren't necessarily as aggressive. They're offering low APR financing, which again is trying to incentivize the buyer from saying, hey, borrowing from a bank at 7% will offer you 2%, which 5% over the life of a $60,000 loan is going to add up to $6,000-$7,000 in interest. They're trying to dangle that long-term savings instead of the immediate savings Ram is offering to try to move these trucks. But as mentioned earlier, they're also throttling production of new vehicles to try to keep the supply down, so they're not as desperate to move vehicles like the other manufacturers. And so I threw out a lot of information. I kind of just made this video a little bit on the whim, so I apologize if it's a little all over the place and I'm throwing out a lot of numbers, but I think this is all helpful information if you're in the marketplace for a truck. Now, I'm not telling anybody what to do, but I think the bottom line from me and my advice is don't buy a vehicle right now. I think the car market is still correcting. I don't think we've reached a bottom. New and used car prices typically tend to follow one another in terms of correlation, and so used cars are still a little overvalued. I think dealers are holding vehicles at losses and still refusing to come down to reality, and until that click happens and we see a real massive cut in the used marketplace, I don't think new cars will have reached their true bottom. And so I think sometime in Q1 or Q2 we'll have a real gauge on where the bottom of the car market is going to be, which is likely going to be a slightly better time to buy a new truck or get a really good deal on a good used one. But again, that latter part of when to buy is just my read of the car market as a car enthusiast and a number nerd. So I strongly advise everybody to do their own due diligence as well. The US truck sales market is in a huge crater right now, in a massive decline and really falling apart. Take a look at some of the luxury vehicles and the specialty vehicles like the Hummer EV, which 12 months ago was selling for nearly $100,000 over MSRP. And I've been offered by multiple dealers in the last 2 to 3 weeks Hummer EV SUVs and trucks at MSRP. I had a dealer offer me one at $1,000 below MSRP to take it same day, but the collapse of the EV market is for another day and another video. So that's all the useful information that I have for today's video. Hopefully you found this helpful and informative. I appreciate you taking the time to stop by and watch the video and check out my channel. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to give it a big old thumbs up. If you have not already, definitely consider hitting the subscribe button. And as always, until the very next video, I look forward to seeing each and every single one of you in the comment section below.